There is a specific kind of guilt that settles inside a woman after she cheats, a quiet emotional weight she tries to hide from everyone around her, especially from the man she betrayed. She will smile, she will pretend, she will act normal, but guilt leaves fingerprints she cannot erase. Female psychology reveals that guilt doesn't disappear. It transforms into subtle patterns that expose the truth long before she ever admits it. And a wife hiding guilt shows 10 powerful signs that reveal everything she's trying to conceal. The first hidden sign is emotional overcompensation. She suddenly becomes unusually sweet, unusually affectionate, unusually attentive. Not because love grew stronger, but because guilt is forcing her to balance the scales. She tries to mask her betrayal by giving more of herself to you, hoping you won't look deeper. The extra warmth is not sincerity. It is fear disguised as affection. The second sign appears in the way she avoids eye contact during meaningful moments. A woman who used to look you straight in the eyes now looks away when you speak. Her gaze softens, but becomes shallow, as if she's afraid to let you see what she's hiding. Eye contact is emotional honesty, and when guilt enters the picture, honesty becomes too heavy for her to hold. The third sign is sudden irritability. She becomes bothered by things that never mattered before. She snaps at small mistakes. She reacts strongly to simple questions. This irritation isn't about you, it's about her. Guilt creates emotional chaos, and she projects that chaos onto you because it feels easier than facing herself. Her frustration is the mirror of her own guilt. Another hidden sign is her shift in routine. She becomes protective of her schedule, vague about her errands, and inconsistent with her explanations. She might leave the house at strange times, linger longer than usual, or avoid discussing her day in detail. This change is not random. Guilt forces her into secrecy, and secrecy always demands new habits. The fifth sign reveals itself in her sudden emotional coldness. She becomes distant, even if she doesn't intend to. Her hugs feel lighter. Her tone becomes flatter. Her physical presence feels disconnected. Guilt drains her emotional energy, making it harder for her to express genuine warmth. It's not that she stopped caring. It's that caring now reminds her of what she did. The sixth sign is her need for extra privacy. She guards her phone like a shield, hides her notifications, turns the screen away, and becomes tense when you walk into the room at certain moments. She suddenly values personal space more than she ever did before. Not because she needs space from you, but because guilt needs space to hide. Privacy becomes her defense. The seventh sign is emotional sensitivity. She becomes overly emotional during harmless conversations. A simple question makes her nervous. A light disagreement makes her upset. She may even cry at unexpected moments. These emotional shifts are not randomness. They are guilt leaking through the cracks. She is not crying because she is hurt. She is crying because she cannot carry the weight she's holding inside. The eighth sign appears when she starts complimenting you in strange ways. She tells you you're a good man, a loyal man, a patient man, phrases she didn't say before. This doesn't come from admiration, it comes from guilt. She is reassuring herself that you deserve better than what she secretly did. Her praise hides her shame. The ninth sign is her avoidance of intimacy. She becomes less affectionate, less open, and less willing to connect physically. Cheating disrupts her emotional chemistry, making intimacy with you feel conflicting. She feels guilty giving herself to you while knowing she crossed a boundary with someone else. Her withdrawal is not about desire. It is about conscience. But the deepest and most powerful sign is the 10th one, emotional inconsistency. She becomes warm one day and cold the next, loving one moment and distant the next. Guilty wives cannot maintain one emotional state for long. Their guilt pulls them back and forth, making their behavior unpredictable. This inconsistency is not a personality shift. It is guilt fighting with denial. A woman hiding guilt after cheating does not become a different person overnight. She becomes a conflicted version of herself. Her mind says, act normal, but her emotions betray her every time she tries. The guilt creates tension in her tone, hesitation in her words, confusion in her reactions. She becomes afraid of slipping, afraid of being found out, afraid of facing the truth she created. And guilt lives in her body just as much as in her mind. You see it in the way she fidgets when you come close. You hear it in the way her voice softens when she doesn't want to explain something. You feel it in the way she no longer rests in your arms comfortably. Her body carries the weight of her decisions even when her words deny everything. One of the strongest signs is the guilt-driven kindness that feels slightly forced. She tries to make up for her betrayal by doing things she rarely did before. Small favors, extra affection, sudden apologies. But something feels off. The kindness feels scripted instead of natural. That's because guilt is pushing her to perform love instead of express it. She wants to erase the wrong with good behavior, but good behavior cannot erase the guilt she feels inside. Guilt also makes her overly cautious around you. She chooses her words carefully, avoids certain topics, and monitors every reaction you have. She becomes afraid of angering you or triggering suspicion. This hyper-awareness is not normal. It is fear. And fear is always a sign that she is hiding something bigger than the moment she is reacting to. Another hidden sign is distraction. She is physically with you but mentally somewhere else. She forgets small things. She seems lost in her own thoughts. She zones out during conversations. This distraction is not boredom. It is guilt replaying in her mind over and over again. She cannot escape her thoughts, so she drifts into them without meaning to. Guilt also affects how she treats arguments. Instead of taking responsibility for small mistakes, she may over-apologize or underreact. She tries to keep peace at all costs because she fears conflict could expose her secret. She avoids tension because tension makes guilt louder. She is not being kinder. She is being cautious. And then there is the loneliness she creates for herself. She stops sharing her fears, her dreams, and her deeper thoughts. She becomes emotionally closed. Not because she no longer needs connection, but because guilt shuts down vulnerability. Vulnerability requires truth, and truth is exactly what she is running from. She becomes distant because opening up feels dangerous. A woman hiding guilt often tries to fix everything else in her life to distract herself from the one thing she cannot fix, her betrayal. She cleans more, she organizes, she throws herself into work. She becomes overly productive. Busyness becomes her way of escaping thoughts she doesn't want to sit with. Guilt creates motion, not peace. But the strongest truth is this: guilt changes a woman's emotional rhythm, and emotional rhythm is impossible to fake. She tries to control her words, but her tone betrays her. She tries to control her behavior, but her energy betrays her. She tries to control her reactions, but her emotions betray her. Guilt breaks the alignment between who she is and how she acts. The woman you knew before feels different now. Not worse, not colder, not cruel, just conflicted. She is trying to carry something she was never meant to carry alone. And no matter how well she hides it, guilt leaves traces everywhere she goes. A wife hiding guilt doesn't confess with words. She confesses with hesitation, inconsistency, distance, kindness that feels unnatural, and emotions that spill out at the wrong moments. You don't need to confront her to see the truth. You just need to pay attention to the emotional patterns guilt creates, because guilt may be silent, but it is never invisible.